Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Pam, and this is Green Living for Real Life, where I do all the research so you don't have to, and then I keep things simple enough so you can actually stick to it because you already care. So I'll show you what to do about that. Today's episode is one I've wanted to do for a while because it comes up constantly in my life. I'm standing in the produce section at the grocery store holding the regular strawberries in one hand and then the super expensive organic strawberries in the other. And I don't know if it matters. So I put the regular ones in my cart and move on. And then I kind of have that nagging feeling like, should I have gotten the organic ones? Are they better? Does it sound familiar? So that moment is exactly what this episode is for because the answer isn't buy everything organic because that's expensive and it's not always necessary. And the answer is don't bother either. The answer is more specific than that. And once you know it, that moment in the produce aisle gets a whole lot easier. Today, we're talking about when buying organic actually matters for your family and for the planet. And I'm going to give you a simple framework that you can use starting on your very next grocery run. So, most of us grew up with a pretty simple message: organic is good, conventional or regular is bad. But that's not really how it works. And I think that oversimplification is actually part of why this feels so overwhelming. Because if everything is bad, then nothing feels manageable. And here's what's actually true: some conventional produce carries significantly more pesticide residue than others, and some carries almost none at all. The difference between the two ends of that spectrum is huge. And once you know which is which, shopping gets a lot easier. So here's the other thing worth knowing, and this one surprised me when I first learned it. Washing your produce doesn't fully solve this. So the USDA tests produce after it's already been washed and peeled, the way that you'd actually eat it. And pesticide residues still show up on most of it. So the just wash it really well approach has real limits for some produce. Not because washing is useless, always wash your produce, but because some pesticides are systemic. They're absorbed into the plant itself, not just sitting on the surface. Now, that's not a reason to panic. It's just a reason to know which produce is worth paying a little more for. So before I get into the actual lists, I want to talk about where this information comes from because I think it matters. There's a nonprofit called EWG, the Environmental Working Group, that I use as a starting point when I'm trying to figure this stuff out. I want to be upfront about something. I don't follow EWG religiously. It's not the only voice I listen to. And I know they have a reputation in some circles for leaning toward the cautious end of things. But here's why I find them useful. Their produce guide is based on USDA testing. So it's not EWG's opinion, it's government data that EWG has organized into something the rest of us can actually use. So that distinction matters to me. I use it the same way I use a nutrition label. I don't obsess over every number, but I find it really helpful to know what I'm looking at. It's a guide, not a gospel. So every year, EWG publishes two lists based on that USDA data: the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. They analyzed over 54,000 produce samples for this year's report, and the 2026 lists just dropped a few weeks ago. So this is as current as it gets. Before I get into the list, I want to mention one new finding from this year's report because I think it's genuinely important and I want to share it in the right spirit. So for the first time ever, the 2026 report detected PFAS, what scientists call forever chemicals, on 63% of Dirty Dozen produce samples. So PFAS are called forever chemicals because their molecular bonds take a really long time to break down in the environment and potentially in our bodies. They've been linked to thyroid disruption, immune issues, and other health concerns. Now, I'm not sharing this to send you into a spiral. I promise the goal of this episode is not to make you afraid of your grocery store. I'm sharing it because this is the kind of thing that gets buried in a government report and never makes it to the produce aisle. It's new information, it's worth knowing, and knowing it gives you the ability to make a slightly better choice when it's easy to do so. That's all this is: new information, not a reason to panic. Okay, here are the lists. The Dirty Dozen, the produce worth buying organic when you can. These are the 12 fruits and vegetables that consistently show the highest pesticide residues when grown conventionally, so not organically. In 2026, they are, and I'll link the full list in the show notes so you don't have to write this down: spinach, kale, and collard and mustard greens, strawberries, grapes, nectarines, peaches, cherries, apples, blackberries, pears, potatoes, and blueberries. And a few things worth noting about this list: spinach topped it, more pesticide residue by weight than any other produce on the list. Most of these have thin skins or no peel at all, which means pesticides absorb directly into the flesh and washing doesn't remove them. Potatoes averaged about 2 pesticides per sample. Everything else on the list averaged 4 or more. And EWG specifically flagged green beans and bell peppers as just below the Dirty Dozen cutoff. So if you eat those regularly, it's worth considering organic versions. Now, the Clean 15, where conventional is genuinely fine, these are the 15 fruits and vegetables with the lowest pesticide residues. And this one I find genuinely reassuring. Nearly 60% of Clean 15 samples had no detectable pesticides at all. Zero. That's a really good number. So the 2026 Clean 15 list includes pineapple, sweet corn, avocados, papaya, onions, frozen sweet peas, asparagus, cabbage, cauliflower, watermelon, mangoes, bananas, carrots, mushrooms, and kiwi. Most of these have thick skins or natural protection. The pesticides just don't get in. So buying conventional avocados and bananas is genuinely fine. That's not a compromise, that's just using the research. So here's how I actually use this, because I want to be really honest with you about what this looks like in a real family. I don't buy everything organic. I can't always find it. I can't always afford it. And honestly, sometimes the organic version looks terrible and the conventional one looks beautiful. And I'm going with the beautiful one. What I do is prioritize the Dirty Dozen items that my family eats the most. In our house, that's strawberries, apples, and grapes. So those three are on my mental list of get organic when I can. Everything else I play by ear. I also keep the Clean 15 in mind when I'm watching the budget. Avocados, bananas, frozen peas, conventional is genuinely fine. And knowing that actually saves me more money because I'm not throwing it at organic produce that doesn't need it. So one more practical note: frozen organic produce is often cheaper than fresh organic and just as good nutritionally. So for spinach and blueberries especially, both on the Dirty Dozen, frozen organic is a really easy and affordable swap. And if you can't find organic or it's not in the budget right now, still eat the produce. A conventional strawberry is still better than no strawberry. The goal, again, like I always say, is progress, not perfection, and definitely not skipping fruits and vegetables. I want to take just a minute here because there's another reason this matters that I don't talk about enough, and it goes beyond what ends up on our plates. Conventional farming relies heavily on synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. When it rains, those chemicals don't just stay on the farm. They run off into streams, rivers, and groundwater. They affect the insects, birds, and wildlife that depend on those ecosystems. They affect the soil itself, the microorganisms and earthworms that healthy soil needs to actually function. So I think about this a lot when I'm like watching nature documentaries, that kind of quiet of wanting the world to still be there for my kids when they're out there with their kids. And choosing organic when it matters is one small way of voting for that world with your grocery cart. Not every purchase, not every time, just when it's easy and when it counts most, which is exactly what the Dirty Dozen list gives you. And here's something I find genuinely hopeful. When more of us reach for the organic strawberries when we can, it signals to farmers and grocery stores that there's demand. That signal matters. It's not just about one family's exposure, it adds up. So here's your one action from today's episode: identify one item on the Dirty Dozen that your kids eat regularly. Just one. Next time you're at the store, try the organic version. That's it. Same grocery store run, same store, just one small swap that's better for your family and a tiny bit better for the planet that your kids are going to inherit. And to make this even easier, I'm linking the full 2026 Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 list in the show notes, along with the EWG Healthy Living app, which you can pull up right in the produce aisle. Buying organic produce when it matters is one of the 20 green kitchen habits in my free real life mom guides to green kitchen habits. The link is in the show notes. It's 20 simple habits, none of them extreme. And if you enjoyed this episode, you might also enjoy my episode on how to choose safe cleaning products because the spirit is exactly the same. If you're not already subscribed to the podcast, please do. I would love to have you back next week, and new episodes drop every Monday. Next week is a special Earth Day episode, so be sure to not miss it. Talk to you soon. Take care.